Hi guys, we are back with day 4 of A Tale of Despereaux. So now yesterday when we left off, the king was playing music to Despereaux and the pea. But then all of a sudden the king turned very angry and remembered that he hates rodents. And he said something about that they have a dark history in their family and something bad happened to the mom involving rodents. So kind of use your imagination and maybe make a prediction of what you think happened to the princess's mom, the king's wife, with rodents, and why he was so angry towards Despereaux. So Despereaux had to leave the princess, but before he did, he told her, "I honor you." And that's what the knight said to the princess in the story he read. And he fell in love with the princess because she thought he was really cute. And she wanted to save him and be his friend. Now, at the same time, remember, Despereaux's brother Furlough ran and told their dad that Despereaux was with a human and that a human was touching him. And Despereaux's dad didn't take that very well, and he called the Mouse Council. And they determined that Despereaux was going to have to come in front of all the mice community and tell them why what he did was wrong. And after he did that, they're going to send him to the dungeon to live with the rats. Remember, it said that his destiny was to interact with those rats. So his destiny is coming true right now. At the very end of the chapter, it asked you guys to look up the word perfidy. Did anybody look that up? I looked it up, and it said that perfidy is another word for deceitfulness, untrustworthiness, deceit, and treachery. And it said that Despereaux's father was the one who acted with perfidy. And so that tells me that Despereaux's father was deceitful and he was untrustworthy because he turned in his own son to go live in the dungeon. Who does that? That's crazy. So we're going to read what happens next. Chapter 9 is called The Right Question. The Mouse Council sent Furlough to go get Despereaux, and Furlough found his brother in the library standing on top of a great open book. His tail was wrapped tightly around his feet, and his small body was shivering. Despereaux was reading a story out loud to himself. He was reading from the beginning so that he could get to the end, where the reader was assured that the knight and the fair maiden lived happily ever after. Despereaux wanted to read those words, happily ever after. He needed to say them out loud. He needed some assurance that this feeling that he had for Princess P, this love, would come to a good end. And so he was reading the story as if it were a spell, and the words of it spoken aloud could make magic happen. "See here," said Furlough out loud to himself. He looked at his brother and then looked away. "This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly the kind of thing. What is he doing, for cripe's sake? He's not eating the paper. He's talking to the paper. It's wrong, 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 wrong." "Hey," he said to Despereaux. Despereaux kept reading. "Hey," shouted Furlough. "Despereaux, the Mouse Council wants you." "Pardon?" said Despereaux. He looked up from the book. "The Mouse Council has called you to sit with them." "Me?" said Despereaux. "You." "I'm busy right now," said Despereaux, and he bent his head again to the open book. Furlough sighed. "Geez," he said. "Cripes! Nothing makes sense to this guy. Nothing. I was right to turn him in. He's crazy." Furlough crawled up the chair leg, and then hopped under the book. He sat next to Despereaux, and he tapped him on the head once, twice. "Hey," he said, "the Mouse Council isn't asking. They're telling. They're commanding. You have to come with me right now." Despereaux turned to Furlough. "Do you know what love is?" "Huh?" he said. "Love." Furlough shook his head. "You're asking me the wrong question. The question you should be asking me is why the Mouse Council wants to see you." "There is somebody who loves me," said Despereaux, "and I love her, and that's the only thing that matters to me." "Somebody who loves you? Somebody who you love? What difference does that make? What matters is you're in a lot of trouble with the Mouse Council." "Her name," said Despereaux, "is P. Princess P." "What?" "The person who loves me. Her name is P." "Cripes," said Furlough. "You're missing out on the whole point of everything here. You're missing the point of being a mouse. You're missing the point of being called to sit with the Mouse Council. You have got to come with me. It's the law. You've been called." Despereaux sighed. He reached out and touched the words "fair maiden" in his book. He traced them with one paw and then put the paw to his mouth. Cripes, said Furlough. You're making a fool out of yourself. Let's go. I honor you, whispered Despereaux. I honor you. And then, reader, he followed Furlough over the book and down the chair leg and across the library floor to the waiting mouse council. He allowed his brother to lead him to his fate. Chapter 10. Good Reasons. The entire mouse community, as instructed by the very most honored head mouse, had gathered behind the wall of the castle ballroom. The members of the Mouse Council sat on top of 3 bricks piled high, and spread out before them was every mouse, old and young, foolish and wise, who lived in the castle. They were all waiting for Despereaux. "Make way," said Furlough. "Here he is. I got him. Make way." Furlough pushed through the crowd of mice, and Despereaux clung to his brother's tail. "There he is," the mice whispered. "There he is. He's so small. They say he was born with his eyes open." Some of the mice pulled away from Despereaux in disgust, and others, the thrill-seekers, reached out to touch him, to touch a whisker or a paw. "The princess put a finger on him. They say he sat at the foot of the king." "It's simply not done," came the distinctive voice of Despereaux's Aunt Florence. Make way, shouted Furlough. I have him right here. I have Despereaux Tilling, who has been called to sit with the Mouse Council." He led Despereaux to the front of the room. "Honored members of the Mouse Council," shouted Furlough, "I have brought you Despereaux Tilling as you requested, to sit with you." He looked over his shoulder at Despereaux. "Let go of me," Furlough said. Despereaux dropped Furlough's tail, and he looked at the members of the Mouse Council. His father met his gaze and then shook his head and looked away. Despereaux turned and faced a sea of mice. "To the dungeon!" a voice cried out. "Straight to the dungeon with him!" Despereaux's head, which had been full of such delightful phrases such as happily ever after and lovely ears and I'll honor you, suddenly cleared. "Straight to the dungeon!" another voice shouted. "Enough!" the most very honored head mouse said. "This trial will be conducted in an orderly fashion. We will act civilized." He cleared his throat and said to Despereaux, "Son, turn and look at me." Despereaux turned and looked up into the head mouse's eyes. They were dark eyes, deep and sad and frightened, and looking into them, Despereaux's heart thudded once, twice. "Despereaux Tilling," said the head mouse. "Yes, sir," said Despereaux. "We, the 14 members of the Mouse Council, have discussed your behavior. First, we will give you a chance to defend yourself against these rumors of your egregious acts. Did you not sit at the foot of the human king?" "I did," said Despereaux. "But I was listening to the music, sir. I was there to hear the song that the king was singing." "To hear what?" "The song, sir. He was singing a song about the deep purple falling over the sleepy garden walls." The head mouse shook his head. "Whatever you're talking about is beside the point. The question is this and only this. Did you sit at the foot of a human king?" "I did, sir." The community of mice shifted on their tails and paws and waited. "Did you allow a human girl, the princess, to touch you?" "Her name is P." "Never mind her name. Did you allow her to touch you?" "Yes, sir," said Despereaux. "I let her touch me. It felt good." A gasp arose from the assembled mice. Despereaux heard his mother's voice. "Mon Dieu! It is not the end of the world. It was a touch. What about it?" "It is simply not done," said Aunt Floris's voice from the crowd. "To the dungeon!" said a mouse in the very front row. "Silence!" roared the most very honored head mouse. "Silence!" He looked down at Despereaux. "Do you, Despereaux Tilling, understand the sacred, never-to-be-broken rules of conduct for being a mouse?" "Yes, sir," said Despereaux. "I guess so, but did you break them?" "Yes, sir," said Despereaux. He raised his voice. "But I broke the rules for good reasons, because of music and because of love." "Love?" said the head mouse. "Oh, cripes," said Furlough. "Here we go." "I love her, sir. We are not here to talk about love. This trial is not about love. This trial is about you being a mouse," shouted the most very honored head mouse from high on top of the bricks, not acting like one. "Yes, sir," said Despereaux. I know I'm not acting like a mouse." "No, I don't think that you do know, and because you do not deny the charges, you must be punished. You are going to be sent as ancient castle mouse law decrees to the dungeon. You are being sent to the rats." "That's right," shouted a mouse in the crowd. "That's the ticket." "The dungeon? The rats? Despereaux's small heart sank all the way to the tip of his tail. There would be no light in the dungeon, no stained glass windows, no library, no books, and there would be no Princess P. But first, said the most very honored head mouse, we will give you a chance to renounce your actions. We will allow you to go to the dungeon with a clean heart. Renounce? Repent. Say that you're sorry. Say that you're sorry that you sat at the foot of a human king. Say that you're sorry that you allowed a human princess to touch you. Say that you regret these actions. Despereaux felt hot and then cold and then hot again. Renounce her? Renounce the princess? Mon Dieu, shouted his mother. Son, do not be a fool. Renounce, repent. What do you say, Despereaux Tilling? I say, no, whispered Despereaux. What? Said the head mouse. No, said Despereaux, and this time he did not whisper the word. I am not sorry. I will not renounce my actions. I love her. I love the princess. There was a bellow of collective outrage. The whole mouse community surged toward Despereaux. The mice seemed to become angry, with hundreds of tails and thousands of whiskers, and one hungry mouth opening and closing and opening and closing all over again. To the dungeon! To the dungeon! To the dungeon! They shouted. The words pounded through Despereaux's body with each beat of his heart. Very well, said the most very honored head mouse. You will die then, with a black heart. Threadmaster, he called. Bring out the thread. Despereaux marveled at his own bravery. He admired his own defiance. And then, reader, he fainted. Oh, Despereaux. We'll see what happens next week.